Hey everyone, I'm Miles Feinberg, and I'm joined today with my son, Noah Feinberg.
Hi.
Noah, tell him why you decided to do a podcast with me today.
Well, it's a bit of a Father's Day present.
And I appreciate that very much. Also, Noah's a Renaissance man, knows a lot about technology, has a unique perspective. So we don't always agree on things. It'd be interesting to hear how or what we agree on and where we disagree. You form your own opinions on AI and what it's doing. Noah is absolutely in the thick of it. And when you see what he's doing, you will see that as well. As kind of a precursor, Noah is a senior, comp sci major, and he's some challenges trying to get his courses lined up so he can finally graduate, which we worked through together successfully, the school bureaucracy. Compounding that, Noah is looking at a really pivotal time in the world today. The software development job postings have fallen 71% in the last 5 years. There's tech layoffs. There's a lot more computer science degree majors. They've doubled in a decade, but the unemployment rate for comp sci has increased. And the reason people went in that field because jobs were plentiful and high paying. And I would say we talked about that. And between the school challenges and the job outlook, how did you feel?
Well, it wasn't great because I was basically stuck in limbo for a bit. But now that I have like a set graduation day, it feels a lot better. Although I've had to come to terms with the fact that the thing that I've always wanted to do and been planning to do my entire life just isn't really a reality anymore.
Yeah, the market has really changed. And as a parent, when you see your child, you want to jump in and help. I jumped in and helped with the school bureaucracy. We sat together with counselors, got that worked through from a perspective of what's going on in the job market. Noah has been coding since he's 13. He's developed incredible systems and platforms. He's competed in coding contests, developing games, but this is a tremendous change in the marketplace. And you remember where we agree and disagree is my view and advice in the world. And that was, no, I want you to be the disruptor, not the disruptee. And what I mean by that is, if you look back, every time there's been a technological shift, if you look back at the turn of the century, farmers there represented what was like half of the workforce in the country, and they saw the tractor coming. And the tractor represented a big technological shift. It was going to displace all those manual laborers. But what they couldn't see and what nobody can see in any technological disruption is the jobs it's going to create in mass agriculture, pesticides, supermarkets, agricultural science, commodities trainings. There's a whole raft of industries they couldn't envision. And you look at all sorts of technology disruption examples, like the PC. When all of a sudden PCs were being put on the desks of the workforce in factories and in offices and in people's homes, up to that point in time, we had typists, file clerks, typewriter manufacturers, a whole raft of folks that were eliminated, like 3.5 million jobs just gone with all these electronic files. But what we didn't envision is software development and IT support and UX design and cybersecurity and SEO, all the things that were going to come from this raft of social media creators, a whole raft of careers that were created from this disruption. So my advice, and where I think we agree, is that AI is a disruptor. We think we both agree this is the biggest one we've ever seen. I contend that this will create opportunities. We have Jevons paradox, where having all of these plentiful and super capable tools will create all sorts of new industries, all sorts of careers, and mass consumption of tons of things. But I want you to share your viewpoint, what we have in common and where we diverge.
The part we agree on is like the upcoming next 3 to 5 years. And then we have a disagreement on like the theoretical end of where this leads in the far future after that. So in the next 3 years, we agree that there's going to be a time of a great opportunity for people to innovate with AI and build great things with AI. Although where we disagree is in the long run what's going to happen, because I think AI is nearly at a point where it's going to be improving itself and not really need as much human input. The thing that'll cause is obviously mass layoffs and, well, economic issues around the world. But aside from that, we agree on what to do now about it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to frame it. And we have spent probably hours finding where we agree and disagree. Our disagreements remain. Sometimes we get closer in our positions here. I think what we each have done, though, in our own different way, and I give you credit for helping me. I saw the power of AI. I watched some very progressive CEOs edicting that every one of their employees should have a virtual team. They should have virtual employees. Those virtual employees should be trained and coached. Those employees will have names, even though they're virtual. They'll appear on their org chart. We're talking about agentic AI. Most of you, if not all of you, are using chat to communicate with AI. You're like, hey, here's some documents, here's an email, take a look at this. Is this right? How do I respond? And you take the output and you copy it. And that's powerful. But I think the real force multiplier is when you use agentic AI. And that's what I've really embraced myself. And I give full credit to steering me on the right track to Noah, who was watching what I was doing. You want to just speak briefly towards that?
Yeah, so I saw that you wanted to have a bunch of long running things that happen for you in the background. And you were going down a path that I would say is suboptimal for that, having everything run on your own laptop through Claude Cowork. And I decided to help you out by getting you set up with Hermes on our old Raspberry Pi. So you have one AI hub for all of your projects. And I think that's been helpful for you so far.
It's been mind-blowing for me because it is a force multiplier. I have been spinning up new agents. I spend my time, I mostly talk to them from my phone. I can talk to them on my laptop, but I'm always 7 days a week. I'm looking at reports from them. I'm seeing where they're failing. I'm coaching them as if they were my employees, because that's how I see them. I get new ideas. Sometimes they give me ideas, but this is my new work. I can do so much more. And also at the same time, it is a superpower. And I think it makes me more marketable. And I think that kind of pivots us into part of the conversation about what kinds of advice we'd give other people in the world, given this change. What would you suggest to folks?
Well, people who are worried, like I am, who are in the white collar field, white collar section of jobs, I think it's a time of great instability and uncertainty, but also a time of great opportunity for us. Because let's say you're already employed at a white collar job, your boss probably isn't adopting AI right now. They might be planning on it, but they move slowly. The further up the food chain you go, these big companies are slow. You have the opportunity to actually do it first. You could get in there right now, start learning the tools, and do it before your boss does. And that's a huge social mobility point for you. And I think that's a beautiful thing about this time period, even if there are so many other unfortunate consequences.
I want to rewind just a little bit. You've coded all your life, and maybe you could talk about how you used technology, how you started using AI, how you took a detour and then came back to it all.
Right. So, yeah, I've been coding for a very long time. It's been my main hobby for at least like the past. But yeah, when generative AI first really went mainstream, and I was always interested in AI, but even 4 years ago, like back during the beginning of the COVID era, I was using generative AI for my projects, but a lot of the things I wanted to do, it just wasn't capable of doing at the time. And so there were a couple of years where I didn't use it very much. I did use it for, helping me code here and there. I tried out the autocomplete stuff, which I found to be not very useful for tech stacks and languages that I normally work with because of lack of training data. But in the past year to 6 months, it has tremendously caught up on those fields. And now I don't really write manual code anymore. But there was a period in between there for maybe 3 or 4 months where I really took a step back from programming as AI started to get really good. I just didn't feel like writing manual code anymore. It was a bit like, why bother? And I spent that time exploring my other hobbies, linguistics, history. And when I came back to coding, one of the first things that I wanted to do was build something that really shared my love of linguistics in the world.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to maybe show people what you created. So now you've taken your passions, your life interests, you've learned, you've taught yourself so many languages, you've studied linguistics, you've traveled the world, and now you're taking those passions and now these great technical skills with AI and creating incredible things that blend those two. I'm going to share on the screen here one of the tools that you built, and then you can walk us through it.
Right. So this is Schemata Linguarum, and it's a interactive etymology graph. So you can trace any English word, and it's mostly focused on English words right now. You can trace any English word all the way back to its Proto-Indo-European root, which is an unattested language, but it's the furthest back linguists have been able to reconstruct European languages to. And the reason I chose this example is because I have a shirt that I love to wear that has all of the old English words for shirt. We have shirt, and then this is Middle English, Old English, Proto-West Germanic, all the way back to Proto-Indo-European. And you could also compare two words, like you could compare the shortest path between two words that are cognates.
So you can
For
take any
example-
two words.
Any two words, yeah. So a good example of that would be Italian fuoco and Spanish fuego, which both are words for fire, coming from their common ancestor in Latin, which is focus, the
Why don't you
heart.
show us?
Yeah.
Pick any example.
Well, I'll show this one because I was just talking about it.
And this entire thing, the back end and front end, I know you'll talk about it, but you created this from scratch?
Yeah. So I started working on this before I started working on it with AI. It was just a database. I never made the front end for it. Ah, there you go. You can see they meet up in the middle here with Latin. So I started working on it initially. It was just a database. And I decided to share it with people and build this front end for it, which I think is quite pleasant to look at. And I also ended up using AI to optimize the backend more. The backend is a graph database. So this is really just a raw view of the backend with a little bit of sugar on top. So I have metrics for things like connectivity, how many words actually connect back to a Proto-Indo-European root. And that's one of the things that I had agents optimizing in a loop. Tweak the deterministic parser that feeds into the LLM parsing step. Tweak the system prompt for the LLM parsing step. All those things to get the total connectivity higher when parsing the inputs, which are Wiktionary and Etymol Online. And a lot of the input data was prose entirely. So the parsing step and the LLM parsing step were both very important for integrating those.
You mentioned a superpower that's really in vogue right now in the AI development world, loops. With the loop program is where the agentic AI continues to feed into itself and cycle and iterate and refine and improve, which is what you did here to make a better product. You're leveraging the power of these virtual agents here. It's a very impressive interface. Is there anything else you want to tell us about that before I kind of pivot on to some other topics?
Well, I guess the final thing I would say is that working on projects like this, it really helps me to like see how the tools can be used for more commercial products. This is just a hobby project of mine, but I really got to get in depth with using AI for optimization passes and stuff like that I want to bring to the corporate world at some point.
Which is really good because at some point he needs to get off of dad's payroll. So let's talk about what you're doing to generate some money here in your future and what your thoughts are in general about doing that.
Right. So like I said, there's a great opportunity right now. One that I'm exploring is the accounting field, which isn't a field that I personally have any experience with, but I'm working on creating like a junior accountant complete package, which is a deployable agent that does everything a junior accountant does that runs cheaply. And some of the technical challenges I've been working with there are making tools that feel comfortable for the smaller models to use, like Quen, perhaps. So you can have
For lower cost.
for lower cost, yes. And so you can have like a junior accountants running quite cheaply, thousands of them for only hundreds of dollars a month.
That's impressive. And I think to your credit, we're both technologists. I went to school for computer science. I did coding for a long time, and I used those to go into business for myself. And I think that's one of the lessons here. If there's a couple takeaways from this, is that we talked about. One is develop your superpower and your skills, because what happens if you don't?
You'll be obsolete.
You'll be obsolete. And if you have those superpowers, you can outflank your seasoned Boston executives, because especially if you're young and nimble and you're immersing yourself in this, you can take your ideas. Look at what Noah has done. One person without any real funds, by himself, without a team, just using AI. Look at the incredible tools he's creating, and now going off, and he's got a small pipeline of prospects for agentic AI and automation. So I think the takeaways together and our common ground is we're in a tremendous upheaval transition. We don't know where this will be in 3 to 5 years or what timeline it'll be. But in this moment in time, be the disruptor, not the disruptee. Be your own boss and develop AI superpower skills so that you're marketable.
Exactly. Like, we both disagree on the exact future, but it's up in the air. So if you want to be comfortable and secure in the future, you should build your own thing to there. Because if you are a white collar worker and you're just coasting along at your job and hoping for enough money to retire from your boss, I wouldn't count on it. Build your own thing to be secure in the future.
Thank you, Noah. And yesterday in the car, when you said, Dad, this is your Father's Day gift, I love that. I really appreciate you doing this. You know so much, and I think people have a lot to learn from what you're doing. Thanks so much.
Thanks.